Hello, this is Vincent, and welcome to Dogma Discussions. Dogma Discussions is a channel for just that, discussing dogma. Started out about religious dogma, and then it's moved into different types of dogma. This one is about the dogma of serendipity, the idea that everything happens for a reason. And so I have a story to tell, like usual, and so please like the video, share it, subscribe to my channel, and what else? Leave me a comment. All right, here we go. Everything happens for a reason. How often have we heard this dogma? Dogma? Why are you calling it dogma, Vincent? Well, by those who adhere to this common axiom, can it be easily and reasonably explained? Nope, because it's a belief, ergo dogma. And why would someone believe that everything happens for a reason? Well, let me answer this query with another. Is it more comfortable to think of life as a series of random events? Meaningless random events, mind you. Or would one rather believe that there is meaning, even in terrible situations, if we look closely enough? And if we find a purpose, doesn't it help us be more resilient? Perhaps, sometimes, maybe. Yet, too often, it lulls us into a sense of complacency, of mental slavery, of chasing our tails, depression, not focusing on our own ability to make positive changes in our lives. In the Old Testament book of Ecclesiastes, the writer states that for everything there is a season, and a time for everything under heaven. The verses following that line are reflected in lyrics of an old song by the band known as the Byrds. The tune is called Turn, 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 in which the band sings, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. So, how do these verses connect to the idea that everything happens for a reason? Say that you've been diligently working for a promotion, doing an excellent job, and feeling like it's yours for the taking. Then, shockingly, the higher position is offered to someone else. If you think that everything happens for a reason, that there's a time for everything, you might comfort yourself by deciding that it's the season to move on to another job. That might be considered resilience. And if another job isn't readily available, or you take another one and it's equally or more problematic, or you've invested so much in your current organization you don't have the energy to start over, then instead of rewarding the so-called resiliency, the situation might make you feel targeted by God, the universe, the powers that be, by whomever. That can be devastating and leave you feeling out of control, disappointed, helpless, that life and opportunity have bypassed you. A couple of weeks ago, I ran into a friend whom I hadn't seen for a while. In my city, our local university has a large open space at one edge of campus. It's a beautiful green space and frequented by students, staff, and faculty, as well as community members. This particular night, the weather is mild, and about 9 p.m., I decide to go there for a walk. Let me take you to that moment. As I saunter around the track that borders the large grass field, I see Joe, who's out here for the same activity. Our chance encounter is a happy occasion since we had unintentionally lost touch, and we stop and visit. After a half hour or so, a young man, appearing to be the age of a college freshman, walks by us, and, arriving at a light pole about 10 feet away, sits next to it. Joe and I continue to chat for another hour, at which point the youth stands and approaches us. Mind you, he confronts two unknown men late in the evening in a public space, when very few others are around. It puts both Joe and me on alert. "Yes?" Joe asks. The youngster responds, "Hi, are you students?" "No," we answer in unison. He pauses momentarily, looks down, and then asks, "Faculty?" "Nope," we answer. His brows furrow, gaze intensifies, and he demands, "Then what are you doing here?" "It's a park," Joe, becoming frustrated, answers. Sensing that his welcome has worn out, the youth states that he was in his dorm room when a voice in his head told him to go to the open space, that he would meet someone there. He then apologizes for disturbing us, his chin and shoulders slumping out of disappointment, and walks off. So, what happened to this kid? Did the voice let him down? Did he linger just a few moments too long in his room before answering the call? Or was he just lonely and his subconscious, desperate for meaningful human contact, sent him a message? Apparently, he believed that the voice happened for a reason and, following that idea, brought him great sadness. My friend Karen was in a job situation in which she felt disrespected daily. What did she do? Quit, just like that. She, believing that everything happens for a reason, was certain that another job would come along soon. And did it? No. At least not the type she expected nor wanted. Similarly, my friend Terrence was an assistant director at his organization. He, at one point, within a few years of retirement, became disenchanted with his job, quit, pulled out all of his pension, and partied like it was 1999. Why would he do something so blatantly irresponsible? Because he had a feeling that everything would turn out all right. That it was his time. That he would end up better than ever. That everything happens for a reason. After a year, he had burned through his life savings and, being in desperate financial straits, had to move back to the small town in which he was raised and take an entry-level position at a local company. An older friend of mine at the time remarked about Terrence, "Vincent, as you move through life, you'll be amazed at the things people do to fuck up their lives." And he was right, especially when they believe in serendipity, that life events have a special meaning, and if you just jump in at the right time, the correct season, everything will be fine. Interestingly, this topic has fascinated humans for centuries, possibly as long as we've existed on Earth. We find a compelling example in the 18th century story Candide, written by Voltaire. In it, the philosopher Pangloss consistently repeats his mantra that everything happens for the best. Surprisingly, even after a reversal of fortune causes him to lose everything, accompanied by years of suffering, including syphilis eating away half his nose, he still holds to this idea. Now that's dogma, that even in the face of insurmountable evidence against his belief, pun intended, he does not waver. Christianity has a similar saying in the book of Romans. It goes like this: "We know that for those who love God, all things work together for good." In light of the similarities between the two proverbs and Voltaire's interest in debunking the Bible, one could venture that Pangloss's mantra is a bastardization of this, or a similar scriptural reference. Yet, does this idea fit with your experience? Do you know people, religious or not, for whom this is true? think deeply. Certainly, we may know people for whom things just seem to fall in place, but even for them, does everything work out for the best or even good? Don't the blessed also endure illness, divorce, financial setbacks, loss of loved ones, etc.? Often, those of us living in the relative security of first world countries fall into this type of belief. Yet, if we can question our own credulity and be objective, we can easily discern situations which prove both the Bible and Pangloss to be mistaken. In 1 Thessalonians, Paul says, "In everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Sounds like we should be thankful because it's all part of a divine plan. Gee, that kind of sounds like everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? Are you familiar with the story of Pollyanna, the young girl in the early 20th century novel, who, although an orphan, is foolishly optimistic about everything? And what's wrong with being optimistic? Nothing, as long as your buoyancy is based in reality. To be sure, we could all benefit with developing the ability to see events and/or people in our lives from multiple perspectives. Aren't we all susceptible to processing things through our own filters and sometimes being too negative? Yet, let's not toss the baby out with the bathwater. It is possible for us to be cheerful but cautious, happy but objective, welcoming but not naive. The danger with the idea that everything happens for a reason or according to its season or for good is that it strips away our personal responsibility and our personal agency from us. It leaves us tossed here and there like we sit in a small boat buffeted on large waves, clinging to the sides of it, just trying to avoid being thrown overboard. Yet, wouldn't it be better to pull out an oar and row furiously, deciding that no matter what the outcome, we know that we did all we could to not just survive, but thrive and grow? That's my story for this time. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the like button, share the video, leave me a comment, subscribe. Until next time, this is Vincent. Goodbye.